One of the highlights of my career, honestly. I mean, a lot of my career highlights happen on that stage, but then I leave and I see him out the window and I was like, that's probably the last time I'm gonna see him.
I was sickened. I was sickened by the standing ovation. I felt like Hollywood is just spineless, en masse.
Will Smith used to be one of the most well-liked actors in the business, with a hot streak of summer blockbusters and a huge reservoir of goodwill for his tenure as the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. But that all changed when he shocked the world by slapping comedian Chris Rock across the face at the 2022 Academy Awards. But even before that, Smith had his share of controversies. From the multi-talented decades-long feud with Janet Hubert to various conflicts arising amid the industry-wide fallout of the infamous Oscars slap against Chris Rock, these are the celebs who absolutely hate Will Smith. Janet Hubert. Janet Hubert, known for playing Aunt Viv on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, was a staple of the show for its first 3 seasons. However, her tenure came to an abrupt end in 1993, when her ongoing feud with Will Smith resulted in her being replaced. Reflecting on the fallout nearly 2 decades later, Hubert told HuffPost's Black Voices, "My departure was planned for a long time. There will never be a reunion of the Fresh Prince. Will Smith and Alfonso Ribeiro destroyed a 20-year career with untruths. I got slammed." While Smith did issue an apology in an Essence magazine interview, Hubert noted that the hurt and damage still lingered. The root of the animosity between Hubert and Smith has long been debated. Hubert claimed that Smith refused to support her during contract negotiations when she asked NBC for a pay raise. On the other hand, rumors circulated that Hubert was difficult to work with, a narrative fueled by Smith and co-star Alfonso Ribeiro's public comments at the time. This negative perception severely affected Hubert's career. After years of public back and forth, the two finally reconciled during the Fresh Prince reunion special on HBO Max in 2020, despite Hubert's earlier insistence that she would never attend such an event. During the reunion, Hubert revealed that the tension between her and Smith stemmed from more than just workplace issues. "There was some friction between Will and I, because I was pregnant. Home life was not good at all," she explained. Hubert also emphasized that being labeled difficult as a black woman in Hollywood had a devastating impact on her career, telling Smith, "I lost everything. Calling a black woman difficult in Hollywood is the kiss of death." Smith offered a public apology to Hubert, and in a heartening twist for fans, the two have since stayed on good terms. Hubert even defended Smith after his controversial actions at the 2022 Oscars, showing just how far their relationship has come since the early 1990s. Chris Rock. Chris Rock's infamous G.I. Jane joke about Jada Pinkett Smith at the 2022 Academy Awards sparked a moment that shocked the world, with Will Smith's reaction becoming the focal point of the night. However, this wasn't the first instance of tension between Rock and the Smith family. In 2016, during his hosting gig at the Oscars, Rock made a joke about Jada's decision to boycott the ceremony in response to the hashtag #OscarsSoWhite controversy. "Jada boycotting the Oscars is like me boycotting Rihanna's panties. I wasn't invited," he quipped, poking fun at her absence. While the joke made headlines, it didn't seem to affect their relationship publicly. In fact, Jada had even praised Rock before the event, posting on Facebook, "I can't think of a better man to do the job at hand this year than you, my friend." At the time, there was no indication of bad blood between Rock and the Smiths. However, after the Oscars slap, things took a sharp turn. Following the incident, Rock chose not to press charges against Smith, according to NPR. Days after the event, he addressed the controversy during a stand-up routine in Boston, admitting, "I'm still kind of processing what happened, so at some point I'll talk about that S. And it will be serious and funny." While fans may hope for reconciliation between the two stars, insiders suggest it may be far from reality. A source cited by Hollywood Life revealed that Rock found the ordeal still raw, emotional, and confusing, and expressed doubts about ever mending the rift. He can't imagine forgiving Will or being friends with him, the insider claimed, noting that Rock doesn't want the slap to define him and the rest of his career. For now, it seems that the fallout from that fateful Oscars night is still very much unresolved, leaving many wondering if there will ever be a path to healing between the two. Tony Rock. It was no surprise that Chris Rock's brother, Tony Rock, also a comedian, wasted no time coming to his siblings' defense after the shocking incident at the 2022 Oscars. In the days following the slap heard around the world, Tony took the stage during one of his stand-up shows and made his feelings crystal clear. "If you think you gonna walk up on this stage, this ain't the motherfucking Oscars," he declared, his voice dripping with frustration. "And if you walk your act up here, you ain't nominated for socket but these motherfucking hands." The crowd erupted in cheers as Tony, clearly fired up, didn't hold back his anger. In the same set, Tony turned his attention directly to Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith, taking a swipe at the couple. "I didn't want to start the show like that," he added, but then delivered a pointed jab. "You gonna hit my motherfucking brother because your butchie gave you a side eye?" Tony was referencing the viral moment when cameras caught Will initially laughing at Chris Rock's G.I. Jane 2 joke, only to seemingly change his demeanor after noticing Jada's displeased reaction with an eye roll. Tony's fury didn't stop at the comedy club either. He made his stance even clearer on social media. When a fan asked on Twitter if he accepted Will Smith's public apology the day after the Oscars, Tony's response was as blunt as could be: "No." Another fan inquired about how he planned to handle the situation, asking, "Are we fighting fire with fire or going the professional route?" Tony's reply: "It's on, bro." It was evident that Tony Rock wasn't about to let his brother's public humiliation slide, and the tension between the Rock family and Will Smith appeared far from over. Judd Apatow. Will Smith's slap of Chris Rock at the 2022 Oscars quickly became the most talked-about moment of his career and one of the most controversial in recent Academy Awards history. The altercation occurred after Chris Rock made a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith, saying, "Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2. Can't wait to see it, all right?" The comment referenced Jada's shaved head, drawing a comparison to Demi Moore's character in G.I. Jane. However, the joke hit a sensitive spot, as Jada had been open about her struggles with alopecia, a condition that leads to hair loss. Will's immediate and shocking reaction, walking onto the stage and slapping Rock, stunned audiences worldwide. Though the moment itself seemed to be driven by emotion, even Will appeared to recognize it was not the best way to handle the situation, issuing an apology soon after. Many in Hollywood weighed in on the incident, with some defending Rock and others calling out Will's actions. One of the most vocal critics was filmmaker Judd Apatow, who tweeted his concerns in a since-deleted post. Apatow wrote, "He could have killed him. That's pure out-of-control rage and violence." The tweet sparked backlash on social media, prompting Apatow to explain himself later on SiriusXM's Pop Culture Spotlight with Jessica Shaw. During the interview, Apatow admitted he hadn't actually been watching the Oscars live when the slap occurred. He was informed of the incident while on a call with a friend. Reflecting on his initial reaction, he said, "My personal thought was I didn't quite understand the offense, but I may be misreading it because to me, G.I. Jane was the most gorgeous woman in the world." While Apatow acknowledged that people might have different reactions to the joke, he emphasized his belief that Will's outburst was an extreme way to deal with it. Apatow continued, "There's certainly a way of handling dissatisfaction, which should never involve crossing that boundary to commit an act of violence in front of millions of viewers, especially as someone people look up to." Howard Stern. Howard Stern didn't mince words when he addressed the Will Smith Oscars controversy on his SiriusXM radio show in March 2022. The outspoken radio host delivered a harsh critique of Smith's actions, suggesting that the actor's inability to control his impulses was a clear sign of deeper issues. "This is a sign of great mental illness when you can't control your impulse," Stern remarked on The Howard Stern Show. He also downplayed the severity of Chris Rock's joke, which had sparked the altercation, saying, "Not only that, it was hardly an insulting joke. It was not even a good joke." Stern's reaction to the incident extended beyond just criticizing Smith. He went as far as to compare the King Richard star to former U.S. President Donald Trump, implying that both men exhibit reckless and impulsive behavior. Stern wasn't just upset with Smith, though. He was also highly critical of how the Academy handled the situation. While there have been mixed reports about whether Smith was asked to leave the ceremony after slapping Rock, according to Variety, Smith still accepted the Best Actor award moments later, which Stern saw as a glaring failure of accountability. In Stern's view, the Academy's decision to launch a formal investigation into the slap seemed unnecessary, given that the entire altercation was broadcast live to millions of viewers and quickly went viral online. Here's what happened. Will Smith assaulted another human being, and you guys did nothing, Stern declared, pointing out the lack of immediate action from event organizers. In typical Stern fashion, he added some dark humor to the situation, joking about how he would protect himself if ever in a similar position. "I'll tell ya, if I ever present an Oscar, I'm gonna wear a suit of armor. I'd come out in a giant shark cage," Stern quipped. Kathy Griffin. Kathy Griffin didn't hold back when she publicly criticized Will Smith for slapping Chris Rock at the 2022 Oscars. Taking to Twitter, Griffin expressed her concerns about the broader implications of Smith's actions. "Let me tell you something. It's a very bad practice to walk up on stage and physically assault a comedian. Now we all have to worry about who wants to be the next Will Smith in comedy clubs and theaters." Given Griffin's own reputation for pushing the boundaries of comedy, it wasn't surprising that she voiced her concerns about the safety of stand-up comedians after witnessing the incident. Griffin's worries stem from personal experience with controversy in comedy. In 2017, she faced severe backlash after sharing an image of herself holding a bloodied replica of then-President Donald Trump's severed head. The graphic photo sparked outrage, leading to real-world consequences far more serious than any repercussions Smith faced for his Oscars outburst. Griffin found herself meeting with both the Secret Service and the Department of Justice, who investigated the matter due to the perceived threat the image represented. Given her own past experiences with controversial humor, Griffin's remarks on Twitter invited some criticism. One user called her statement disingenuous and suggested it lacked critical thinking skills. Griffin, however, was quick to clap back, accusing the critic of misogyny. She added, "Unless you're also a professional comic who has sold out live comedy shows at the Dolby Theater as I have, you don't have any credibility here." Rosie O'Donnell. Rosie O'Donnell didn't hold back when she addressed the fallout from Will Smith's infamous slap at the 2022 Oscars. Like Howard Stern, she was highly critical of Smith, but she also turned her attention to the Academy for how they handled the incident. It was clear from her reaction on Twitter that O'Donnell firmly sided with Chris Rock. In a sharp tweet, she expressed her dismay over the situation, writing, "So upsetting, on every level. Bravo to Chris Rock for not eviscerating Will Smith, which he could do any day of the week. He walked away. Bravo from a sad display of toxic masculinity from a narcissistic madman." O'Donnell's pointed comments reflected her belief that Rock, known for his sharp wit, could have easily torn Smith apart in a verbal battle, but instead chose to take the high road. After the slap, Smith returned to his seat and famously shouted, "Keep my wife's name out your fing mouth," multiple times. Meanwhile, Rock, showing remarkable composure, quipped, "Will Smith just smacked the S out of me. That was the greatest night in the history of television," before continuing with his role as a presenter and awarding the Oscar for Best Documentary Feature to Summer of Soul. However, O'Donnell's frustrations extended beyond just Will Smith. She also took aim at the Academy for their apparent lack of action during the incident. In response to the Academy's statement that it did not condone violence, O'Donnell fired back with a blunt question. Then why did you do nothing? She wasn't alone in her outrage. O'Donnell retweeted similar sentiments from fellow actors and public figures who disagreed with Smith's actions, amplifying her stance that the Academy's response had been inadequate. Jim Carrey. Just days after the 2022 Oscars, Jim Carrey made headlines, not only for announcing his potential retirement from acting, but also for his candid reaction to Will Smith's shocking slap. While preparing for his Hollywood farewell, the iconic actor didn't shy away from expressing his disapproval of Smith's actions and the response from the entertainment industry. In an interview with CBS Mornings, Carrey shared his disgust at how the night unfolded. I was sickened by the standing ovation, he said, referring to the moment when Smith received a standing ovation after winning the Best Actor award just moments after slapping Chris Rock. Carrey remarked on the lack of accountability, stating, I felt like Hollywood is just spineless en masse. It really felt like, oh, this is a really clear indication that we're not the cool club anymore. His disappointment wasn't just with Smith, but also with the collective response from the audience, which he saw as a failure to condemn violence. Carrey also delved into why Smith's outburst was so unsettling, noting that such behavior is never justified, especially in a public forum. You do not have the right to walk up on stage and smack somebody in the face 'cause they said words, he explained, emphasizing how Smith's reaction was completely uncalled for. The star of Sonic the Hedgehog, too, felt the situation not only tarnished the night, but also damaged the integrity of the entertainment industry as a whole. Reflecting on how he might have handled things if he were in Chris Rock's position, Carrey joked about taking legal action. I'd have announced this morning that I was suing Will for $200 million, 'cause that video is gonna be there forever. It's gonna be ubiquitous, he said, highlighting how the incident would live on in infamy. Fortunately for Smith, Carrey wasn't the one on stage. Though Carrey wasn't directly involved, it's clear that his respect for Smith was deeply affected by the Oscars debacle. As he looks toward retirement, Carrey's parting thoughts on the incident suggest he isn't likely to forgive or forget anytime soon. What other celebrities have said about Chris Rock and the slap heard around the world? American late-night hosts Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, and Stephen Colbert also weighed in on what many are calling the most controversial night in Oscars history during their opening monologues. Kimmel quipped, "It's now a part of our lives forever. We will never stop talking about this. Even Kanye West was like, you went on stage and did what at an awards show?" Jimmy Kimmel also commended Chris Rock for how he handled being slapped on stage at the Oscars, noting that he managed it about as well as anyone could in that situation. Kimmel said, "He didn't even flinch. I would have been crying so hard." Meanwhile, Stephen Colbert had some playful advice for Will Smith, saying, "If you really want to hurt a comedian, don't laugh. That hurts way more than a punch. I promise you." Adam Sandler, known for his role in Uncut Gems and a longtime friend of Rock since their days on Saturday Night Live in 1990, tweeted a shout-out for Rock's upcoming Ego Death World Tour. The Happy Gilmore star, who has collaborated with Rock on films like Grown Ups and The Week Of, added, "Love you, buddy." On the other hand, Entourage creator Doug Ellen didn't hold back in criticizing Smith through a series of tweets and Instagram posts, labeling him a bully and a narcissist. He tweeted, "Can't believe anyone would defend Will. Gaslighting narcissist who made the entire night about himself." Ellen further lamented, "It's all about Will. That's all anyone will remember. An overly sensitive, out-of-control bully." Actor Alec Baldwin drew a parallel between the Oscars and the Jerry Springer Show following the shocking exchange. On Tuesday, he tweeted, "I'm not seeing much coverage about how or even if the producers attended to Chris, but I love you, Chris Rock." He added, "I'm sorry the Oscars turned into the Jerry Springer Show." On Good Morning Britain, presenter Richard Madeley criticized Oscar attendees who claimed they didn't see the on-stage altercation. Speaking with Ross King, who was reporting live from the Vanity Fair Oscar party, Madeley remarked, "It's amazing how many you're talking to didn't see it." He gestured to his phone and continued, "They've got these devices. You can look it up and see it as often as you'd like. That's Hollywood." Conversely, Jamila Jamil was among the stars defending Smith. The Good Place actor tweeted a quote from Malcolm X about protecting black women in America, writing, "Will Smith said, 'Not today.' A man big enough to absolutely floor him slapped him softly enough that Chris barely moved because he made fun of his wife's alopecia on a world stage. Don't say protect black women for 2 years and then only condemn Will here. Come on." Comedian Kathy Griffin expressed her concern that Smith's actions would make life more dangerous for people in her profession. "Let me tell you something. It's a very bad practice to walk up on stage and physically assault a comedian," she wrote on Twitter. Now we all have to worry about who wants to be the next Will Smith in comedy clubs and theaters. Rapper 50 Cent, on the other hand, captioned an image of the slap with the line, "B, don't you ever play with me, LOL." Can Will Smith make a comeback? Now, more than 2 years later, the lingering question is whether Will Smith can truly move past Slapgate and the controversies surrounding his relationship. With the upcoming release of Bad Boys 4, there's a chance he might finally be able to do so. After the infamous incident, Smith decided to step back from the spotlight to reflect on his actions, a move that seems to have been beneficial. Taking that time away allowed the intense backlash against him to subside, shifting public attention to other topics. His follow-up project, Emancipation, faced significant criticism and performed poorly at the box office, which many believe was due to its release being too close to the slap. Several of his other projects were either delayed or completely shelved. However, as he spent more time away from the public eye, the anger directed at him gradually diminished. Bad Boys 4 might be just what Will Smith needs. In the end, taking a break from the industry seems to have allowed Will Smith to concentrate on projects that hold personal significance for him and resonate with audiences like Bad Boys and I Am Legend. The Bad Boys franchise is a beloved series that brings back fond memories for fans. It's known for its feel-good vibes and easygoing entertainment, largely thanks to the great chemistry between Smith and co-star Martin Lawrence. Many fans are eagerly anticipating their reunion in Bad Boys, Ride or Die, and the nostalgic power of the franchise might help people overlook Smith's past mistakes. Additionally, Smith is set to collaborate with Michael B. Jordan on a new I Am Legend film. Jordan has spoken enthusiastically about working with Smith, sharing his excitement in a June 2024 interview with People. He mentioned, "It doesn't have a release date yet or any specific filming location, but I'm really looking forward to getting in front of the camera with Smith." The original I Am Legend from 2007 is one of Will Smith's most cherished films, and the warm words from his co-star will likely encourage viewers to view him more favorably. Additionally, Smith seems to be trying to win back public support by participating in the YouTube series Hot Ones. This interview series has become a popular platform for actors to show their true selves, largely because the spicy wings tend to loosen them up, making them more open and vulnerable than they would typically be in a standard press interview. Given the current climate of cancel culture, people often turn against public figures and may struggle to forgive them, leaving it uncertain whether Smith can fully reclaim his former stardom after the incident at the Oscars. However, considering his past star power, there's a chance he could make a comeback. As Will Smith navigates this challenging chapter in his career, it remains to be seen whether he can truly move past the controversies and regain the public's trust. With projects like Bad Boys 4 and a new I Am Legend film on the horizon, there's potential for a comeback. But will audiences embrace him again? We want to hear your thoughts. Do you think Smith can redeem himself in the eyes of the public, or is his reputation forever tarnished? Let us know in the comments below.